Welcome to another episode of the Barron Report. This is the podcast that talks about all things innovation in restaurant and hospitality. Today, we're going to be covering the 15 brands to watch in 2019. And what I do with this every year is I kind of look at where the industry is going, and also from our Foodable Labs Index, where we look at some of their performance on a variety of different measurements throughout the year. But these are the takeaways that I had around the brands that really I think are going to be interesting to keep an eye on for next year. Sweetgreen is the first one I'll go to, and Sweetgreen, of course, is a well-known brand that started in DC. They've since moved their HQ to Los Angeles. But this brand has a very interesting persona. One is, of course, it is a healthy halo brand, but it has some very uniqueness to it in the sense they do some other things, including their Sweet Life Festival. They also have some aspects of their whole brand that is geared toward ramping up beyond where the salad chain is showing itself today in terms of menu. So I think what we look at as Sweetgreen is really kind of that lifestyle brand, and that's an interesting and continues to be an interesting topic for the restaurant industry, especially as brands start to shake out certain categories, especially within fast casual. Here's a clip of the co-founder and CEO Jonathan Neiman, who was on a recent podcast with Kara Swisher on Recode Decode. I thought some of the things he said there were interesting and also very aligned to what our predictions are for this as a brand to watch. Listen up to this clip here.
Of food, and we wanted to create a place that made you know.
Why restaurants? What did you major in, Georgia?
Studied business. For me, it started with.
You were in the business school.
I was in the MSB.
SFS.
Yeah, and I just wanted to. First of all, it was this friendship with my two partners, but also it was wanting to create something. All of our parents were first generation immigrants and entrepreneurs, and we always saw a world in which we wanted to create something a business that had a big impact on the world. And being at this, I'm 33 years old, on the upper edge of the millennial, saw a world in which our generation and the generation after us was not going to accept the food system that we were being handed. It was not, McDonald's did not speak to us. Chipotle, these places did not make sense for us. And there was going to be a McDonald's. Not even Chipotle. There was
kids love Chipotle.
There was going to be a McDonald's of our generation. What Starbucks did for coffee.
Sure.
And we saw an opportunity to completely create a new type of food system and an iconic brand that spoke to this generation.
And there haven't been that many salad-oriented.
All right, so as you heard there from their CEO, Sweetgreen is kind of looking at themselves in essence like a platform, and they've also been recorded as saying they're also a technology company versus a restaurant company. So it's going to be interesting if their CEO and their leadership continues to go that track, especially into 2019. They've been a brand that has been very interesting to watch because they've been up and they've been down in terms of consumer sentiment. Obviously, being a salad chain, you are in a position of, I think, in a position of weakness because there's some things that can happen within the markets where certain types of menus, when you're so restrictive, can become a little bit challenging, especially on a competitive scale. So it's interesting to watch this brand. They continue to grow. They are definitely well-funded. They're probably one of the most well-funded companies out there. So keep a watch on Sweetgreens. My next brand to talk about is Tender Greens. Now, Tender Greens has been in our top 5 in our overall Foodable Labs Index. And when we look at metrics around brands like this, we look at a variety of social media metrics that look to consumer sentiment. They also look at how well the brand is doing in terms of telling their story. And then we look at engagement, things that of how consumers are engaging with them in reference to their content, their Instagram, things that other people are saying about them. And this brand continues to do very well. The other thing that is interesting about this brand, of course, as you know, or should know, that it is part of the Union Square Hospitality Group. Eric Oberholzer, who was the CEO, is now the executive chairman of Tender Greens, and they are continuing to grow. I find this brand to be one that is still very intriguing in that hyper-focused space between casual and fast casual. They really are an upscale fast casual brand. Price point wise, I think they fall more in line with casual dining. And that is really the reason I think they're one to watch, especially as we see some of the casual dining brands actually doing well, that we are having, a little bit more expendable income, especially in the millennial crowd in 2019. I think some of the casual chains will continue to do excellent. And places like Tender Greens, I think, will be the result of some of those improvements in terms of sales. The third brand here is Mod Pizza. Now, Mod Pizza is a very interesting concept here. Mod is one of those brands that has kind of centered themselves around culture and people. Now, you would think most of the restaurant industry is like that, but some restaurants really focus on food or maybe their style and their overall ambiance. This one is very interesting because when we discovered Mod about 5 years ago, we had a chance to kind of see them in their inception period. And really, if you look at fast casual pizza, I would probably credit fast casual pizza as being pioneered by Scott and Ali Svensson, who are the founders of Mod Pizza. Over 3 years ago, I kind of had a feeling this concept was on track. Of course, they're setting now at over 400 units, so I can kind of go back and say, I told you so. And also, I think they have emerged as the winner, clear cut, in the pizza fast casual category. And they had some competition with concepts like Blaze, also and Pizza, which showed some strength in the last couple of years. But Mod has really separated from the pack and in some cases has completely decimated some of its competitors. So they definitely have a very unique and real X factor that I think is something that you should kind of listen to. And you can kind of hear it in a clip from our an episode we did on Fast Casual Nation. Take a look at this one. So Mod, what was the differentiation for you guys? Because it seems like you have a culture that, one, at least we've recognized here as we do our research around fast casual, that seems a little different than, much like a Chipotle has a really good culture of people, and they've been able to succeed because of that. What is the magic, do you feel, with Mod's culture and how that's going?
Absolutely, from the get-go, something magical started to happen at this little business where certain people got involved and employees engaged so deeply and cared so much about the business, connected with customers in ways that it was very remarkable to us. Wow. And we started to really pay attention to it and very quickly realized that we're very motivated by the pizza part. Our pizza is amazing and we love it. But it's about so much more than the pizza. We realized early on the world really probably doesn't need a lot more pizza, but the world needs a lot more of whatever's going on here.
But effectively what that means to us is to build a business that's unapologetically for profit, that is best in class in its operations and its financial performance,
right?
But whose purpose is to make a positive social impact.
Oh, that's cool.
And for us, the social impact is about the people.
Right.
We know that we're in the business of pizza, but really what we're about, it's people, for sure. Yeah, and it's the Mod Squad. They're the face of what this business is about, and they are the reason that we're growing it.
All right, so you can kind of see the leadership there at Mod Pizza is really dedicated to kind of that social impact. And I think as we see millennials continuing to grow in terms of expendable income and the brands they get to choose to go to, it's companies like Mod Pizza that I think are going to win that game, and especially in fast casual pizza as one of the more popular menu items. They are definitely the front runner for 2019. Another brand that I find very interesting, also a West Coast brand, is Lemonade. Now, Lemonade is a Los Angeles-based brand that is now led by CEO Larry Kurzweil. He's a veteran food service executive. He kind of came over from the industry, but what's interesting about Lemonade is this brand's sentiment rating growth, and that's over the past year. They've had an 8% increase just in this past year. Now, that's the reason you might think that's not really a lot, but in the when you look at the index data that we look in around sentiment, where we look at food service and overall brand, 8% increases are just almost unheard of. Usually it's 2-3% for the top level brands. Now, some brands that have a lot of issues can increase sentiment by making some major changes or a major menu move. But when it's a brand that has consistent performance, to see a consistent increase in sentiment is pretty impressive. So I think they definitely will be another one to keep an eye on in 2019. My next brand here is Doghouse. Now, Doghouse, again, I'm not just calling out West Coast brands. We've got some here that are all over the country, but Doghouse, again, their key is their differentiation. It's really one of the key points that I took away when I had a chance to visit them in Los Angeles. And also in my research, that's one of the things that you just don't see very often. And they've been able to really kind of attack this differentiation in terms of their market and their menu and really make it something that identifies them as a very unique fast casual brand. This is where really Doghouse delivers. And of course, this brand continues to expand with recent news of expanding to Texas now. We had a chance to sit down also with the Doghouse team right there in Los Angeles and talk about what makes them different. So take a look at this. I think you'll like it.
At its inception, the concept was to do a hot dog place, you know, to capture the nostalgia of eating a hot dog, but for a grown-up palate.
Right.
A hot dog and sausage can vary tremendously in quality. You have hot dogs that you can get like in a gas station where it's like 10 of them for $1, and then you have what we do, which is a much higher quality item made with excellent ingredients. So we kind of wanted to, you know, save the reputation of the hot dog.
All right, so Doghouse, first of all, that was a brand that I really enjoyed interviewing on Fast Casual Nation. If anything, it was for the food. The menu concepts that they have there are absolutely phenomenal. They are over the top in terms of that kind of that decadence feeling. So when you want to go out and really have a good time, get a dog and a beer, this is definitely one of those brands that I think is going to do really well in fast casual, and especially when you look at continuance of the differentiation that this brand has. It's not like they're another burger chain, which is very unique in the in the category of better burgers. There's very few that I've actually called out that I think are something to watch in 2019. So this is something I think we'll continue to keep our eye on. My next brand is a very small concept called Café Gratitude. Now, Café Gratitude is a collection of plant-based restaurants that specialize in gourmet cuisines. So they're kind of chef-driven. What they've done is they've created a menu and environment that focuses on health and sustainability as the core mission. When you look at plant-based trends on the rise over, you know, the several aspects, whether you look at concepts making it into our top 150 emerging brands, this brand, Café Gratitude, is definitely one that I think you should keep an eye on as well. Another thing they have is they approach their whole business to a thing they call sacred commerce, where they provide inspired service, honest and transparent communication, and bring kind of a new amped level of hospitality to their guests. Now, this is not something new, because chef to table, farm to table, and brands that are bringing out this kind of this sustainability and this localized movement is not new. What I find interesting about Café Gratitude is the fact that they've been able to connect the dots on all aspects. So they've really gone over the top on menu. They're staying true to their form on sustainability, and they're really holding strong on their core mission. So if you take a look at some of their videos, I think you can kind of see this brand's presence. It's different. And I think that's the thing that people are looking for in today's consumer environment when it comes to selecting restaurants. And if they continue to go this direction in terms of super high quality and very intriguing connection to sustainability, I think this Café Gratitude will be definitely one of our 15 brands to watch in 2019. The remaining few, I'm going to kind of go through these fairly quickly to kind of just give you some quick snippets on why I think they're interesting and why I think we should keep an eye on them. One is Corelife Eatery. This brand has, I think, a very unique and separated menu, but more importantly, with Scott Davis at the helm there, they have leadership. Scott Davis was a former Panera exec that moved over to Corelife and just did this the last 18 months. So he's really positioned that brand, I think, to put it in a position to win. And I think if they continue to see some unit growth, this is definitely one to watch. Another one is Flower Child. Flower Child is one that, and of course this is Sam Fox out of Phoenix, Arizona. And Sam is kind of one of those Danny Meyer types. He's definitely an innovator and a mover and shaker when it comes to creating concepts, whether it was Zen Burger, True Food Kitchen, you name it. The brands that he has kind of put out there have really excelled, and Flower Child is no different. And I think they have such a uniqueness when it comes to their innovation of their menu, but also their branding. They've done a really great job in branding on social media, so I think they will continue to do a great job for 2019. Clover Food Lab is another one. Now, this is a very eclectic selection. I think you guys will, I'll probably get a lot of comments or tweets on this. But my reason is this. It's very simple. When you look at Clover Food Lab, it's really kind of a cult favorite chain founded by an MIT alum and environmentalist. His name is Air Muir. And if you think about this brand, I want you to think Sweetgreen 5 years ago. When you look at the mission of what they're trying to do from localized connections, but also from their whole idea around organics and just their connection to the Boston community. This brand is one that I think if Air decides to grow it, this is one to watch. If he decides to keep it regional and tight like this, which I kind of have a feeling he might do, then I just think they'll continue to be a superstar performer there. But I'm hoping that we're going to see some Clover Food Lab business in places like New York or Chicago. All right, so my next brand here is Shake Shack, and this one was a little bit troubling to me to put on this list, and the reason is because of Shake Shack's fall from the top 10 in our overall emerging brands report that will be coming out here very shortly. Our emerging brand looks at 150 of the top emerging brands that are across the gambit, whether it's QSR, fast casual, casual dine, even fine dine. But Shake Shack had a bit of a tumble in terms of their overall performance, and I think it's also aligned with their stock price. I'm a little bit concerned about Shake Shack. While I feel like they could rebound and 2019 could be the year that Danny and Randy Garutti, their CEO, bring this brand back to the forefront of the fast casual category, I still do think this brand is the leader when it comes to the better burger segment. So I'm not completely out on them, but I do think it is one to watch in a precautious way in terms of whether it's going to perform well in 2019. Another brand is an upscale casual concept called Lazy Dog, which is really on the rise with consumers. And I think as people find a little bit more spending room, this is one of those brands that will do well. Another brand out of Houston, Local Foods, chef-driven, local sourcing. It's driving a team at Local Foods. And you know, I like their founder, Benji Levitz. His whole idea there, I think, is really on track with some of the things that are happening in the category around healthy halo brands and just overall good food for consumers. Another brand I love out of Seattle, this is a company called Homegrown. Its whole concept is around sustainability as a mission. It's kind of, and you think about sustainability, that's especially pretty hard to do in the restaurant business, to keep it consistent and to stay with it on an ongoing basis. But their CEO, Ben Friedman, I think is doing a phenomenal job keeping that brand on track when it comes to leadership in sustainability. In fact, I think they're probably one of the most recognized sustainable leadership brands in fast casual across the country. As far as our sandwich category, so I wanted to bring one brand into the sandwich category, and of course that would have to be East Hampton Sandwich. This brand was our #1 sandwich innovator of the year, and that was interesting because we looked at over 300 different sandwich shops across the country, and East Hampton basically took the #1 spot, and I think they did it with a very uniqueness to, again, overindulgence on their menu. When you look at what this brand does from a menu standpoint, they just absolutely kill it. And their CEO, Hunter Pond, a millennial, is really no different. He's one of those guys that's a take no prisoners leader. And I think when you look at brands, you have to look at the CEO to understand whether or not they are a mover and shaker. And they definitely will be a brand to watch in 2019. I'll wrap up the 15 brands with one more casual dining concept called Firebirds. Now, this brand is kind of interesting because I think they're bringing, and there's several that are doing this, that are bringing approachable food and spirits. So high-end bars to kind of that upscale, potentially a fast food or even a fast casual consumer shift, meaning they're upgrading to what Firebirds is selling. And I think that is happening across the casual dining category. I've talked about this before, is there's kind of this new emerging group in the casual dining group. And some of them you'll recognize, companies like Cooper's Hawk, Doc B's. Those have been on our list for quite some time. But Firebirds, I think, is one that also deserves to be there. And it's definitely one that I think has some headroom in terms of growth. They already do have quite a few units across the United States. So it'll be interesting to watch them as they continue to go on in 2019. That's my wrap up for the, actually this is going to be our last live show here on the Barron Report for 2018. We'll be resuming our live recordings here first week of January, and in that week we'll actually be doing our predictions show, and that's my power predictions. I do 8 of them every year, and basically it's looking at the industry and forecasting what I think based on what we saw, and also some kind of trend leading indicators that we see from our data in Foodable Labs as to where the trends will be heading for the next year. So I do put out some interesting predictions. Last year it was the big issue was restaurant closings. It'll be interesting to see what our final numbers are, but I think we did a fairly good job on, though that's not a great point, it's definitely one of those things that I think we did a good job, at least in understanding where the direction of the market was going. All right, so if you have some ideas for our show in 2019, we are looking for some new segments. We're going to try to bring some new aspects to the live production here at Foodable, and more of it. You'll see some new hosts starting to introduce themselves here on the network. Some of those you may have already seen over on our Smart Kitchen and Bar Show. If you have not had a chance to check that one out, you can catch it on YouTube. Also, you can catch it on iTunes as well. We do have some cool special series coming up as well, so be on the lookout, because 2019 is going to be an absolute unbelievable year here on the Foodable Network. That's it for the Barron Report from 2018. We will catch you next year. See you next time.